watching the It's Her Time podcast with Cody and Jess. Hi, welcome back to the It's Her Time podcast. My name is Cody Sanders, and I'm a holistic health practitioner and a functional nutritionist and the host of this show. And today we're going to be talking about sleep problems that can often happen for women before or during their period. Now, insomnia and sleep problems are a major issue for our entire culture. But did you know that women are more likely to experience poor sleep than men are? The changes in female hormones throughout our menstrual cycle can really influence our sleep patterns and may explain why sleep becomes more challenging for many women before or during their period. Also, those that have PMS or are experiencing PMDD, they can be even more likely to experience PMS, insomnia, or fragmented sleep and reduced sleep quality due to the changing of our hormone levels. On today's episode, we're going to unpack the connections between the menstrual cycle and our hormone health and our sleep. Plus, I'm going to offer all kinds of tips for improving sleep quality before and during our period. But before we start the episode, let's join Jess for a Mixhers Girls Say.
Today for our Mixhers Girls Say, we're actually going to read through a Saturday question box that we love to put up on our Instagram stories of where are you taking Mixhers today? So many fun places. Ready, Cody?
I'm ready.
My period is coming, so her time to the rescue. So happy I had it in my purse. Lake Powell, boating, shopping, gardening. I love it. I'm thinking of a woman outside gardening and has her drink with her because it's going to be hot, all the things. While I'm out running errands, I'm drinking it at home. I just brought it with me to Cancun. I work at the country club bar. She's making her drinks.
Making other people's drinks and then she's got
making her own mocktail. Staying at an Airbnb right now. Working in the yard, lots of yard work, and cleaning the house, then packing for a camp out. Today I'm drinking her Hydrate and her time. Took all my Mixhers stuff with me before I went to the pool. Africa, how cool is that? The softball field for kids' sports, and so on. The racetrack for the boys' race, and so many other places. So yeah, we're so happy to see Mixhers with you out and about and on the go. That's the whole reason why it's in a stick pack form. Throw it in your purse, throw it in a backpack, throw it in your car. And Mixhers gets to come along with you and provide you nutritional benefits throughout your busy day. Have a good day. Mixhers is a company made for women by women. Each of our products have been carefully and lovingly crafted to support you in all stages of your life, providing you with the optimal health you deserve. Each ingredient we handpick is 100% all natural, backed by science, and chosen specifically to better your life physically, mentally, and hormonally. Each product empowers your body to take charge of its monthly hormonal shift and flows, empowering you to live life to the fullest. Let Mixhers take care of your needs from sunup to sundown, and you take care of the rest. Check us out at mixhers.com, Mixhers.
Okay, let's get into our sleep and how our periods can affect it. But let's first start with a review of the stages of our menstrual cycle and how a healthy menstrual cycle looks. It's important to understand and remember how our hormones fluctuate throughout the month. Okay, so we're going to talk about what are the 4 stages of the menstrual cycle. Now, the menstrual cycle encompasses the monthly cyclical hormonal changes that women experience between puberty and menopause. The menstrual cycle is how the body prepares for a possible pregnancy and is also an overall marker or vital sign of our overall health. Now, the menstrual cycle is divided into 4 stages, okay? So the first one we're going to talk about is the menstrual phase. The menstrual phase begins on the first day of period flow, which we call day 1 of the menstrual cycle. Now, during menstruation, the body sheds the endometrial lining, which is a lining that goes around our uterus, and estrogen and progesterone levels are low, okay? The next phase is known as the follicular phase. The follicular phase encompasses the menstrual phase. It also begins on day 1 and goes until ovulation, typically around 2 weeks. Now, estrogen and follicle stimulating hormone, which is known as FSH, they tend to rise during this phase. Estrogen builds the endometrial lining, and then it also supports healthy cervical fluid, okay? Now, the third phase in our monthly cycle is known as the ovulatory phase. This is when estrogen and our luteinizing hormone, which is often referred to as LH, they spike, and the mature egg is then released in ovulation. This phase lasts around 24 hours from the time the egg is actually released. And now, last but not least, we have the luteal phase. The luteal phase occurs after ovulation, and it lasts until our next period begins. And then the cycle starts all over again. Now, during this phase, progesterone levels rise, and then this phase also lasts around 2 weeks, okay? So let's get into hormone fluctuations during our period and how they affect our sleep. Hormones fluctuate throughout the whole entire menstrual cycle, like we just mentioned, and that's going to affect our circadian rhythm and our sleep. Since all hormone systems are connected, the effects go way beyond just our sex hormones. So for example, estrogen and progesterone, they affect our other hormones, including our thyroid hormones and our adrenal hormones, such as cortisol. When any of these things are imbalanced, any imbalance that happens with our female hormones occurs, it can affect our menstrual cycle, and it can contribute to period-related symptoms that often, many times, we suffer with. And on the other side, hormone levels are affected when our sleep is poor or when we're putting in too many late nights. So establishing regular sleep patterns is really good for our hormones and for supporting our hormone health. We need to do our best to be able to optimize both our hormones as well as our sleep. So let's look at some of the specific connections between the sleep and also our hormones. So let's talk about PMS, okay? Because a lot of people wonder, can PMS affect our sleep? And really, absolutely, there's a big old yes to that question. There is a connection between PMS and sleep. Many women report that they have sleep problems that happen right before their periods start, and that their poor sleep also comes along with a lot of the symptoms that are associated with PMS that can affect their physical or even their emotional health. And they feel this as they're leading into their period. Now, just to remind you, it's estimated that 75% of women experience some PMS symptoms. So that is a lot of us out there. PMS is related to hormone shifts that happen during our luteal phase of our monthly cycle. And this can lead to physical as well as psychological symptoms. And then once our period begins, these symptoms tend to go away. Now, many times women who experience PMS have what's known as estrogen dominance, and which just means that they have higher estrogen compared to progesterone, which is usually too low. So some of the symptoms that I know many of you are familiar with, but I'm just going to remind us what some of the symptoms of PMS can look like. So for many of you, it's bloating and fluid retention. PMS can also, it affects our digestion, and it can cause constipation, or it can even cause diarrhea. It can cause your breasts to feel tender. It can also, you can start feeling cramping even before the period starts, or especially while you are on your period. Also, headaches and menstrual migraines are very common symptoms of PMS, as well as brain fog or a hard time concentrating, maybe feeling fatigued, severe fatigue, and also things like feeling anxiety or feeling extra irritable, or maybe even feeling low moods like depression, or just any of all of those things combined, just mood swings. This is a time when people feel like their hunger increases and that they have more intense cravings. They also notice that they don't feel in the mood all the time because their libido is decreased. They might notice that they're getting a little extra acne. Even some people mention that they feel things like joint pain, so kind of like arthritis. But especially people, it's very common for many of us to feel like we see changes in our sleep patterns and we experience insomnia. That's a big PMS symptom. Now let's talk a little bit about our sleep when it comes to PMDD, because premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD, is more extreme than PMS. And it is much less common. It really only affects about 3 to 8% of all women in the luteal phase of their cycle. PMDD often lasts a little longer than PMS as well, and it can last around 10 to 14 days, so about half of our month at times for some women. Now, compared to the 5 to 7 days that PMS usually lasts for people, that is significant. Now, PMDD can be extremely debilitating, to say the least. It can really affect our life. It affects our ability to go to work. It can affect our relationships, and it just overall just affects our quality of life. So in addition to the cluster of PMS symptoms that I just talked about, PMDD symptoms can also include things like feelings of hopelessness. You can imagine it feels very hopeless if you're feeling that debilitated all the time with such extreme symptoms. It's very common for people that have PMDD to have things like suicidal thoughts or have extreme sadness, depression, or even feelings of rage. And they just feel like they have a less desire to be active in life activities and to participate in life activities. So can PMS and PMDD affect sleep? I think you girls know the answer to that. Yes. Women with PMS and PMDD are more likely to experience sleep problems, especially during the late stages of the luteal phase that is leading up to their period. Now, women report that they have sleep disturbances with PMS and PMDD that include things like they just have a harder time falling asleep. They also have more frequent nighttime awakenings. They're just getting up more during the night. They also report that they don't feel rested or restored after sleep, so they wake up feeling like zombies. So as you know, like poor sleep leads to daytime symptoms of fatigue and sleepiness. It's also going to really impact our ability to concentrate, and it's going to impact our ability to perform as well. So regardless of a PMS or PMDD diagnosis, the fact is that sleep architecture changes during our menstrual cycle for all of us. For example, we actually get more non-REM or REM sleep, or what we also know as deep sleep, compared to when we are in our follicular phases. Also, REM sleep decreases during the luteal phase. So it's really pretty interesting when you look at how all of these different hormonal fluctuations can really affect what type of sleep and what quality of sleep we're getting. I have an Aura ring. I love looking at it. It gives me all of this great data. So I'm able to see and track along, and I know what phase of the month I'm in. And I think it's fascinating. Maybe we'll do a whole episode just based on that. But it's interesting if you girls have something that's tracking to look into your stats as well. Okay, so women with PMS and PMDD do absolutely experience more extreme changes in sleep patterns due to the hormonal changes and the symptoms that we've just talked about. So let's talk about sleep and our hormones concerning specifically progesterone and as well as melatonin. Okay, so progesterone and body temperature, which it very much influences, can have a big impact on our sleep. Now, as progesterone levels rise in our luteal phase, you may experience an increase in body temperature. And these body temperature changes are also very connected with our sleep fragmentation. So also the metabolism of progesterone also can play a role in all of this when it comes to our sleep too. One of the metabolites progesterone breaks down to is called allopregnenolone. When there are decreased levels of this metabolite, this is when you're going to see a lot of sleep disturbance, okay? This pattern is exaggerated in women that have PMDD, where impaired GABA response to fluctuations in allopregnenolone correlate to mood disturbance. It also correlates with poor stress tolerance and obviously sleep disturbance as well. Now, GABA is the nervous system's primary inhibitor. It's our neurotransmitter that helps us to feel calm and to feel relaxed, and it supports sleep when levels are optimal for each and every person. But now let's talk about melatonin. It's our sleep hormone, and it's a hormone involved in the regulation of our circadian rhythms that naturally rise at night to promote drowsiness and sleep. Now, women that have PMDD may have a decreased response to melatonin production during their luteal phase compared to if you were looking at their melatonin levels during their follicular phase. So this can be another huge cause for sleep disruption. Now, how do we improve sleep quality though during our period? Now, so far we've focused a lot on how PMS and PMDD correlate with decreased sleep quality during the luteal phase, but sleep can also be disturbed during the menstrual phase as well. Now, during your period, hormones are at their absolute lowest level. Sleep may be more difficult for some women that don't have enough progesterone in the follicular phase, especially when estrogen is slow to rise. Periods that are so heavy that you have to change a pad or a tampon very frequently can actually be signs of menorrhagia. So I just wanted you to just be aware of that as well. So when you know your patterns and how your menstrual cycle affects your sleep, then you can make some great and positive changes to improve your sleep. Now, luckily, there are many lifestyle tools and supplements that we can use to counteract changes in our sleep patterns and to give us the extra support that we need during our cycle when we need it most. So let's talk about some of the interventions that we can implement into our life. Okay. So the very first thing we should do is obviously practice good sleep hygiene. Okay. First and foremost, that's the best thing for good sleep. If you have bad sleep habits, then obviously sleep's going to be a lot harder, especially before and during your period. So there are some easy habits that you can start to implement. So one of the best things you can do is to set a regular bedtime and then stick to it. Maybe that's not easy, but I'm going to say that's where we should start. Okay. The other thing is that you should try to create a relaxing bedtime routine. This is one of my favorite things. Maybe you could drink some Mixhers Sleep, that nice little warm hot cocoa or a restful raspberry, or maybe you could just sip some herbal tea. You could read, you could journal, you could take a bath, just whatever it is, practice some self-care to just help you wind down and calm down and get your body, send the message to your brain that it's time for you to sleep. This helps tremendously. The other thing that you need to do, it might not be easy either, but it makes a big difference, is limiting your screens before bed. The blue light that is emitted from our screens, whether it's our phone or our TV, what it does is it actually suppresses our melatonin production, which is our sleep hormone. Also, very important thing to do and also very hard, especially if you've got young kids or other people that you're trying to take care of before bed. But do your best to try to limit stress before bed. So what I like to do is say, set a curfew like for social media and for checking your email or whatever it is that's going to make it so that you kind of have extra stress right before bed. Just kind of wind down, take the lights down, all of that, and just relieve your stress as much as possible because all of that that's causing stress, it can all wait until tomorrow. Now, the next tip that I'd love to share is that you want to make sure that your bedroom is nice and cool and dark. This is so important for helping us to be able to sleep better. If you think back into like our caveman era, this is where we were cool and we were in a dark place. And that is how our body responds best to sleep. I know we're not going to be sleeping in caves, but if you can try to make your bedroom as cave-like as possible and make sure that your bedding is not making you too hot, that your pajamas aren't making you too hot, and that you've got either your windows open or maybe a fan blowing on you, this is going to make a big difference for you to be able to feel like you're getting better sleep. Another thing that I know this seems obvious, but I feel like sometimes I have to mention this as well. It's important for us to just wear comfortable, breathable pajamas to help regulate our body temperature. And I think sometimes we find these pajamas that are just cute, but we don't really think about how they might be helping our body be able to breathe or like transition from being hot or cold. Another thing that we need to do is think about implementing hormone supportive supplements, okay, in addition to practicing healthy lifestyle habits, including good sleep hygiene. Now, supplements that support our underlying hormonal patterns can really help improve our sleep. So if we go back and we talk again about PMS or PMDD, there are supplements and other interventions that can help support healthy progesterone and estrogen levels, like Mixhers Her Time. What Mixhers Her Time does is it can decrease symptoms over time because it's giving you all of these nutrients that help to support you and nourish you consistently. Now, another factor that influences sleep is stress. We've kind of talked about it already, but there are also supplements that are there that you can use as an amazing supportive tool to help support your adrenal health. And when you do that, it's going to help improve your sleep, okay? So using ingredients that are known as adaptogens, this is something that is so helpful for our adrenal health. Now, you're going to find ingredients that are like that in our Mixhers Sleep, but you're also going to find that in Her Time, as well as many of the Mixhers products. So keep your eyes out for that and try to implement that as well and see how it helps to support your stress system. Now, the other thing is we need to give our menstrual cycle some support as well, okay? So now if you notice a correlation between your period and insomnia, then you're not alone. There's so many of us out there that struggle with that. But as we've talked about, sleep disruptions can be a symptom of hormone fluctuations, just like PMS and just like PMDD and all these things. Poor sleep is a symptom. Often sleep problems are just one of the many changes that you will notice in how you feel leading up to or during your period. Now, supplements can be immensely supportive for supporting hormonal balance that then can lead to optimal sleep. So again, I'm going to mention and recommend Mixhers Her Time and Mixhers Her Time Plus because these products contain many key nutrients and they have herbal extracts that support a healthy cycle and they help to balance out your hormones throughout the entire month. Now, the other thing that we want to make sure that we pay attention to is our adrenal hormone support. And by doing so, this is going to help balance our stress hormones as well. Now, we have what's known as HPA axis dysfunction. We've talked about it on this show before, but it's also commonly talked about as adrenal fatigue. And what it can happen is that it can produce an imbalance of our stress hormones, cortisol, which is absolutely going to affect our sleep. Now, cortisol, our stress hormone, follows a regular daily pattern where it should be high in the morning so that you can feel alert and you can feel energized. And it should then, as the day goes on and as we get into the night, it should lower in the evening to promote sleep. It has the opposite pattern of melatonin. They both work together in a cycle. Now, if cortisol is high or low or follows a different pattern, then you're going to feel tired but wired. It's that tired but wired feeling that I talk about a lot. And that makes us feel very anxious at night. And that makes it very hard for us to fall asleep. Or it can actually make it so that maybe we fall asleep at night, but then we wake up in the middle of the night and then our mind is racing and we can't quiet it down. So the solution is first and foremost to try our best to reduce stress. Although, while you are working on this piece, getting your body nourished with adaptogenic herbs like those found in Mixhers Sleep is so helpful. This formula is a blend of effective adaptogenic herbs and nutrients that support the body's natural decline in evening cortisol levels. And these nutrients can help calm the nervous system. And this all helps to promote restful and restorative sleep, which is key. Now, a side bonus of giving our adrenals the support that they need is a healthy menstrual cycle and better sleep. So you see how it's all connected? It all works together. All right, so let's wrap up this episode and let's go over some of the key takeaways that I really want you to have just that you are remembering when it comes to how sleep can affect your period and how we can improve it. Okay, the first thing is that sleep problems often are correlated to phases of the menstrual cycle, especially during the luteal and our menstrual phases. And then again, hormone fluctuations, they can trigger changes in our sleep patterns, especially for those of you that are experiencing PMS or PMDD. Now, changes in progesterone and melatonin can really help us understand why sleep problems are more likely at certain times of the menstrual cycle or when we are experiencing, again, PMS or PMDD. So supporting our adrenal and our sex hormone balance can significantly improve our menstrual cycle, and it's going to improve our sleep. So yay. Now, an effective strategy for addressing the hormones that influence our sleep is making sure that we're implementing lifestyle changes. Plus, we're taking targeted supplements like Mixhers Sleep and Her Time. Those are the ones that I highly recommend if you're struggling. With that, I'm wishing you all more ease with your menstrual cycle and the better sleep that it brings. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the It's Her Time podcast. I love having you here. Please share this episode with the girls in your life. And if you do share this episode on your social media, be sure to tag Mixhers or me, Cody Jean Sanders, because we would love to choose a few of you to send a little thank you gift your way for helping our podcast grow. Until next time, I hope you all have a very happy and healthy week. Bye.